Hey folks, it's Ardwulf. Welcome. We have a quick unboxing for you today of something I really haven't done much with in the course of this channel. This is a magazine game unboxing from Against the Odds Annual 2019. Now, despite it being Annual 2019, I'm not entirely clear that this came out in 2019. In fact, I don't believe that it did. So what we have here is presumably a magazine and a very interesting looking game, Vendee 1793, Counter-Revolution in the West. So this is a game about the Vendee Rebellion that occurred during the sort of initial phases and stretched on quite a while into the French Revolution. It is a sort of a background event in the Napoleonic Wars. In fact, Napoleon himself, when commanded to go to the Vendee to help put down the rebellion there, he basically went AWOL and almost got himself in trouble were it not for his political connections. So let's take a look inside here. Now, this is not in what I would call a box. It's in this very interesting, but I think not particularly useful Against the Odds tray. And they're not the only people that use these trays, but I think every game I have in one of these trays is, in fact, an issue of Against the Odds. So let's open her up. It's got a quite thick, clear plastic cover. The problem is that, as you'll see, it's got this sort of little tag sheet in it that folds over the top, reminiscent in many ways of the old SPI flat trays, of course. We do have some dice, so we have 4 dice. So the trouble with these things is that there's really no way that these pieces that you put in this tray are staying put. I'm not a huge fan of this thing. I'll keep it in this tray, but I will probably bag you the pieces. So, okay, there's an interesting whole second game here. So we got, in addition to this plastic tray that, like I said, I'm not a big fan. I've got 1 or 2 games in that. We have this thing, Day of Infamy, the attack on Pearl Harbor, and it looks to me like these would be the counters for that. They are nice looking counters, and it's a nicely drawn map, and I'm totally unsure as to how this works. I didn't even know I was getting this when I ordered this. So that is something to take a look at. Here are the cards. To what extent this is a card-driven game, I'm not sure. We'll take a look at these. Not all these cards are for this game. That's very apparent. We'll take a look at those in a moment. So here is the rule sheet for Day of Infamy, the attack on Pearl Harbor. This is still available as far as I can tell, by the way. So here's the rule sheet for that, or at least some of the rule sheet for that. It just seems to be random events. So I'm not really sure how that works. All right, so here is the counter sheet for La Vendee. There's 1 counter sheet, and it appears to be 5/8 inch counters on a pretty thick brown core stock. Pretty much standard looking 5/8 inch counters to me. This is a design, by the way, by John Paniski. Counters by Mark Mahaffey. It says so right here. Now we've got leaders here too. We've got Thoreau, Rossignol, Westerman, Kleber, Ken Clower. I'm not sure who that guy even is. Bruyere, and I'm having trouble. And here's, of course, Bonaparte in case he shows up. And then a bunch of these guys. I'm not sure I recognize any of these names, to be completely honest. And some of these, at least, are really small, and I can't read the text in this somewhat suboptimal light. But you can see there's not that many units. There's some markers and stuff like that, but it's pretty much just 1 counter sheet. Let's take a look at the map before we get much farther. And I guess I'll also point out that there is enjoy the enclosed complimentary pocket battle game on Leipzig. That's this postcard game. I seem to get a lot of these in both Against the Odds games and here's the thing for Turning Point Simulations. Turning Point Simulations games and in Clash of Arms games. So there's some kind of deal has been worked out apparently that I don't know the details of. All right, so here is the titular Vendee region. As you can see, this is an area movement game, which frankly I think is probably the right way to go. I don't believe this topic would be particularly amenable to being a hex and counter game. But I'll give you a look at the map here. It's a pretty nice looking map. Looks like it's a Mark Mahaffey map as well. Mr. Mahaffey has occasionally had issues on his maps that have resulted in readability problems. I'm not really seeing anything here that jumps out at me in that respect. To me, this looks fine. It looks reasonably attractive. I like this map. So the magazine itself, and LPS, I think, is the name of the company, but everybody calls this Against the Odds. All right, so Andy Nunez, editor, gives us an introduction. We get some articles. There's an article by John Paniski with another map, actually. This is a pretty interesting topic that I'm very much looking forward. I don't know a whole lot about it, frankly, except as it relates to Napoleon, and even then. So it will be interesting to read some more historical background on here, and in case you are super interested, here's a bibliography. So that is pretty cool as well. And of course, we are getting some, I don't know why you would create a game like this without some way to explore the what if Napoleon were to show up here. American Slave Revolts in the Caribbean and South America, 1605 to 1804 by Stephen M. Johnson. That's a very interesting topic that we traditionally have not seen much treatment of in wargaming magazines. Here's the rules of play for La Vendee, and it may be that this is like set up in the middle so you can extract it. And I don't know offhand if you are able to download the rules for this. I would be inclined to do that, to extract the rules from the website and just print them myself. We have what looks like at least what I interpret as a display that you are supposed to copy and put on or near the map. Here's the rules for Day of Infamy, the attack on Pearl Harbor. Here's some extra stuff for Rome Inc., which is another against the odds game that we'll be having a look at reasonably shortly. This looks like we might be getting a sort of mini expansion for Rome Inc., actually, which is pretty cool, since that'll be literally the next unboxing that you see. We got another display over here. So it looks like this is about a 20-page rule book. That looks about correct. It's about 18 pages of actual rules. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. So I think it's pretty obvious that you are, in fact, intended to remove this stuff from the middle of the magazine. But I am unlikely to do that. Article on Viking ships, which is cool. Characteristics of game boards by Lou Pulsifar. This would be very interesting. Lou has some interesting insights sometimes. So I'll be... and I can already see that Lou and I are going to be aligned, at least in some measure, on what he's talking about here. No Surrender. Variant rules for not men but devils. Here's some De Atom Bomba. That is a previous game from Against the Odds magazine. Here's an advertisement for Monty's D-Day. Now, they did Bradley's D-Day some years ago, and that's sort of based on an old S&T game that was actually done during the TSR years called Monty's D-Day, which I have. And, of course, as soon as I went and bought it, they decided they were going to redo Monty's D-Day. And together, you can put those together to get all of D-Day for the first week or two, which looks pretty interesting. So my next order from Against the Odds might well be those two games, both of which I believe are still available. Here's an article on the Bay of Pigs, being a chump or being a bully. Little map of Cuba here. Looks like a pretty good article, actually. Dramatis Personae, which includes Meyer Lansky and Lucky Luciano. That sounds pretty interesting. All right, so Anna Beck, I had on the back for La Bataille de Mont Saint Jean, which you will see in roughly the same space of time that you see this unboxing as well from me, because I did pick it up. So this is, I'm not even going to try and reassemble all this on camera. So this has been a brief look at Against the Odds Annual 2019, and the not one, not two, but three games included in it, the marquee game of which is La Vendee 1793, Counter-Revolution in the West. Very interesting topic. It is, to my knowledge, a topic that has not been dealt with in war games previously. I might be wrong about that. Feel free to correct me in the comments if I am. And it is a very interesting topic that I look forward to exploring this game. So I'd like to give a special shout out to the patrons of Ardwulf's Lair, without whose assistance and support it would be much, much, much more difficult to do this and all the other types of content that we do here. So thank you, patrons. And I would like to thank you, the viewer, for watching. Until next time, happy wargaming.